Expectancy theory provides a model that attempts to pull together all of the other ideas from the various motivation theories. Expectancy theory attempts to help us better understand how people choose their direction when they have a lot of alternatives available. Expectancy theory also helps us understand how people choose the amount of intensity they will devote to the pursuit of a target. Even more importantly, an expanded expectancy model helps us understand what it takes to get a person from choosing a desired target to the point of success, feeling good about their success, and being motivated to provide a high level of intensity in the future. Let's take a look at the model. The first thing expectancy theory looks at is three components that a person considers when they evaluate the alternatives that are available to them. Expectancy theory says that a person will look at an alternative and ask, if I pursue this target, what are the chances I can succeed? That's called the expectancy perception. Do I expect I can succeed? Then the person will ask, if I do succeed, what will the outcomes be? That's the instrumentality perception. Will performance be instrumental in producing outcomes? And finally, the person asks, how will I feel about those outcomes? What will be the value or the valence of those outcomes? When a person evaluates an alternative, they ask, can I do it? What will happen if I do it? And how will I feel about those outcomes? Now, let's look at the model to see what happens after a person has selected an alternative and they are engaged in the pursuit of that alternative. Expectancy theory helps us here a lot as well. It's not enough to choose the desired target. We also have to have sufficient intensity. In this model, you can see that if a person is pursuing a target but with insufficient intensity, they will fail to perform. But let's assume that a person has chosen the target, is exerting sufficient intensity. What does it take to succeed? The person must be good enough to succeed. They must have what it takes to succeed. They must have the skills, the abilities, the experience to succeed. And they must have the necessary support from their organization. If the person chooses a direction and exerts sufficient intensity, and they have what it takes, and the organization provides the needed support, then they will succeed. They will achieve the goal. They will have performance. If we were only interested in one-time performance, we'd be done. We'd celebrate. We're done. We got the performance that we want. However, we have to think about the future. Part of thinking about the future is thinking about how the person feels about what happened in the past. Expectancy theory says that people who succeed will receive some extrinsic outcomes and they will receive some intrinsic outcomes. They will evaluate those extrinsic outcomes and those intrinsic outcomes. They will evaluate them by asking whether they were fair and whether they were provided in a socially equitable manner. If the person performs and they receive valued extrinsic outcomes and they receive valued intrinsic outcomes, like a sense of accomplishment, and they feel those outcomes were fair and equitable, then they experience satisfaction. What has the person learned from this experience? They have learned that if they select this target and they exert enough effort, they're good enough to succeed, and the organization will provide the support that facilitates their success. They will also have learned which extrinsic outcomes follow success and which intrinsic outcomes follow success. They will learn that those outcomes are provided in a fair and equitable manner and that they like that that's satisfying to them. They will learn that in the future, their behavior may lead to a fair, equitable, satisfying experience again. For an organization to assure success, it must attend to every element of this model. This model is also very helpful to us when someone is failing to succeed over time. When someone has failed to succeed over time, the organization can use this model as a diagnostic tool. The idea is Find out which part of the model is the source of the problem. Is the problem insufficient intensity? Or is the problem that the person doesn't have what it takes to succeed? Or is the problem that the organization did not provide necessary support? Or is the problem that there are not sufficient extrinsic outcomes? Or is the problem that the job is designed in such a way that there aren't many intrinsic outcomes? Or is the problem that people feel they're not being treated fairly or maybe not being treated equitably? This is a great diagnostic tool for an organization because there's no single answer for why people fail to sustain performance over the long term. The expectancy model helps us focus on, analyze, and identify what we need to do to better manage the motivation of the people in our organizations.